Hello everyone, I'm Kay, and today I just want to talk to the girls who listen to me because I want you to know about your place in creation and what God envisions for you. So, we're going to start with creation itself in the beginning. So, God made heavens and earth. God continued to make the light and the sky and the earth, and then the creatures that fill out the earth, and of course, there is the waters and the creatures that fill into the water. And then after a while, he created men. And then after men, he created women. And that's where the story gets very interesting. When I talk to many guys that, really stick to the Bible for reference, why the women has to be, a good listener to the men, they say, look, the woman was made out of the men. So therefore, the woman is subjected to the men. And that's for thousands of years how women were treated. They were treated according to what men perceived to be a piece of themselves. But when I go to creation story, I actually find a completely different story. So women were created out of the men, but men were also created out of dirt. So men are absolutely subjected to the dirt. So if the dirt says something, the men should probably do it. So by now you can understand that this entire argument is completely ridiculous, and this is not what God has envisioned. In fact, when God started creating things, he was creating everything for his men and women, for us, for humans. And everything that preceded was more and more important. No one says that men are not important. I am a mother to a boy and a girl, and to me, both of them are equally important. But I do understand that once you look at the story of creation, you will find that the woman came after the man. Therefore, the woman has abilities that the man will never have. Of course, she had to be made out of him to make them match. If you talk about DNA, we would like DNAs to be compatible. So, in order for that to happen, men had to be produced first in the image of Elohim, and then the women had to be brought out of him, but she can actually do something that the men cannot do, and that is to create a new life. Only God can actually create a new life. I will also mention that men and women are equal because they were created in the same time, on the same day. If there was any hierarchy in any way for the men or for the women, then they would be created in different times. But that's not what God intended. He created them at the same time, but the woman was basically able to do much, much more. And that is to create a life just like God is able to create all life and all things, everything in the universe. So the woman gets to carry the life, and God gets to make the deposit of a soul so that that life continues to live. I can't even tell you how tremendous is what women can do. And girls, I know you're hearing me right now and you're thinking, I don't feel like the men understand me, and that's because you have to first value yourself. You have to know what you can do. Men cannot produce babies without you. But more importantly, you can have the right not to date when you're young, not to have sexual relations without marriage. What you can do is so precious that the men have to go get a job, have a house, have money, and be, welcoming for someone like you so that you would be able to have a place to live, you will have a place to raise your kids, that the men will provide. And if they don't do it, no one says that a woman cannot provide as well. But it's very, very important that if the men want to be valued and they want to be, honestly, like have a reason for their existence altogether, is to create a safe space for raising a family. If they can't do it, they do not deserve a family. And women, we have to advocate for our girls to make sure that they get what they deserve. They should not be subjugated to a man because they can do something that a man cannot. And when they do have babies, they have to have the environment that is positive, that is wonderful. That's what God wanted. That's why he created all things to provide for his humans, right? Now, the next thing that was created after men and women is Shabbat. And Shabbat is very important because it's the one day that we get to spend as a family. And if you are in the Middle East, if you're in Europe, if you're in America, and you're thinking, wow, Shabbat sounds very Jewish. Well, it was given to all humans. So you can say it's Jewish because the Jews actually do it, but it is a human right. You have the right to rest on Shabbat. The only rule is that you shouldn't work because you want to rest on Shabbat, and that you shouldn't do anything to make other people work. So if you have a company, the people on Shabbat should be resting. If you go to a restaurant, then you're making people work for you and cook for you and serve you, and therefore when they want to actually have a Shabbat, they cannot have a Shabbat. So it's important that we provide that opportunity not just for ourselves but for everybody else. And as women, we are the boss of the house. Don't let anyone else tell you anything else, because any house that is managed by the men will never see the potential that a woman can actually manage in the house. It's not to say that men are not equal partners in raising the kids and doing everything, of course, but the leadership is not about bossing people around. The leadership is about making sure that everybody in the family are doing what they're supposed to do. And also that everybody in the family gets the rest that they need, the education that they need, that they are all becoming like integral parts that can work together. Now, as a mom, I'm not going to be delusional. I know how hard it is to be, a mom. Okay, it's really hard, and the kids yell a lot and they don't get along all the time. And even the husbands, they go to work, they come back, right? My husband, he works, he comes back, he's like, what is happening? It's important. Even when I go to work and I come back, I say what's happening. So as a woman, you have to, know that you have something again that the men just don't have. And it's not to say that I'm talking down to the men. That's not what I'm saying. I'm saying that the women have the gift of bringing life, and the gift of, putting together the family, because we just feel things that the men can't. How many times do the men say, well, I can't read your mind. I don't understand why you're thinking what you're thinking. And as women, we just have that sense, that talent that the men just don't have. And for that, we have to be valued. I said it in my previous video, and I mean it even today. Women have to be paid more than men. Mostly because it's very hard to be a woman. Mostly because if you do decide to take a job, and women often have to do it because in case the men cannot provide, then women have suffered enough. They don't like to be like stuck as single mothers and be at the mercy of other people. They have to be raised to be productive just like the men. But it does require so much more work, so much more sacrifice, child care, just being able to, coordinate everything when you're not really at the home and when you are at the home. Even at my office, I remember taking my daughter with me, and she was like in a playpen, and I was like juggling everything. So it's important for women, especially the ones that are not really like business owners, to have the opportunity to go to work and it's great for society to have so many great women that can actually work. But at the same time, they have to be paid more. Why wouldn't you want your mothers to be paid more? Why wouldn't you want your sisters to be paid more once they have a family? Why wouldn't you want, your daughters to be paid more once they have a family? It just makes more sense this way. And it seems like this world is completely upside down. And that is what Yeshua HaMashiach was talking about. That is what Jesus Christ was talking about. That this world is broken and it's completely upside down. The women, the men, the kids. I can't even tell you the difference that it is to raise a kid in the United States versus to raise kids elsewhere, like in the Middle East, anywhere in Asia. It's like the kids here are precious. In Israel, it's the same thing. The kids are precious, so precious, more precious than gold, more precious than everything. Parents love their children. They spend everything they have on their children. They really don't view any reason for money other than raise their kids and give them like a great stepping stool to being successful, whether they are men or women. So it is very crucial, even in places like the Middle East or in Africa, to really promote women. I feel that if society were to put women as a priority, okay, not to put men in their sports, okay, not to bring men into TV shows just to tell them you're weak, you can't do things. It's like we had thousands of years of women hearing how much they can't do. And let me tell you, in the times of our Lord and Savior, in the book of Matthew, it is said that the Samaritan woman, just like any other woman of that time, was carrying the water from the well that Jacob dug, and he was the ancestor of the Jewish people. But he also was the father of the Samaritans, who are from Israel, right? The house of Israel. And she was carrying the water, and all the women were carrying the water. And Jesus was asking her, why can I have some water? And she thought he was making fun of her, because why is she really in the middle of the day next to the well unless she was rejected by others? And look at it. Why was she rejected? Because she had a complicated life and a husband that was not kind to her. There has to be something that holds men, responsible when they're not kind to their wives. There has to be. Then she had a second husband, but by then she was very traumatized, and Yeshua saw all of it. He knew that the adulterous Samaritan woman, she was a product of all of her suffering, and she just escalated from there and didn't know how to find her way back. And since when women are considered to be important to worship God? Well, Jesus thought she was important. In fact, he told multiple women, in Judea, in Samaria, and everywhere, that they are important, that if they want to pray to his Father, they have to do it, and they can do it. All they have to do is find a quiet room, get in, and just sit quietly and meditate and think of God and pray directly to him. They did not need the men to do it. The women were shut out of the praying part for the longest time, and for the most part, in almost every religion. If I had anything good to say about Judaism, is that for the most part, for the longest time, now in Israel, women are praying, and women are part of praying to God, of course, in their side. And there are a lot of women in the Gentile lands that also pray to God in their homes, and they do it perfectly while being able to raise a family and not feel like they need someone else to pray. If you are a girl or a woman and you are in a situation where you're thinking, is God seeing me? Why am I suffering? I don't know that I can do it one more day. I don't know that I can suffer for one more day. Then I encourage you to find a very quiet room somewhere. It really doesn't matter where it is. Even if you're at your job place, you can just go into the bathroom. The prayers are not supposed to be perfect. It's just you talking directly to God, and God will 100% hear you. I'm telling you right now, God hears you, and God will bring you out of whatever situation you're in, and he will give you the strength to deal with whatever it is that you have to deal with. And I'm also saying that you have to know your value. You are the most valuable living thing ever made in creation, because you were the last thing to be created before God said, it's all very good, I'm done. You are the most valuable thing that God has, because you are where the fruits come, right? You are the one who bring the children. And I will also say that there are many mothers out there who have been adopting children, and they have been wonderful mothers. So yes, we have to bring fruits, but sometimes, the tree dies and the fruits fall off, and somebody else can pick the fruit and take care of it and make sure that it becomes what it needs to be. Well, I hope that you guys liked this video and it was very informative to you. I truly believe that all women's rights are right there in the Bible. And I really hope that you can just grow up and become an accountant or a lawyer or an engineer or an astronaut. And here you go, my kids are calling me. So please like and subscribe. Every subscriber is for Yeshua Messiah. Thank you very much.